And now with that, we're going to go to Christian Banach. Christian is a new business expert, and he is going to be talking about understanding the buyer's journey and how that helps us win more new business. Over to you, Christian.
Great. Thank you so much, Boris. Really excited to speak to everybody here today. Appreciate everybody tuning in here. So yeah, as Boris had mentioned, we are going to be talking about why understanding the modern buyer's journey is really critical for predictable agency growth. I want to make sure, is my screen being shared? Yes, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump in. So what we're going to cover, I'll talk real briefly about who I am, what is the buyer's journey, why is it important, and how to create a buyer's journey. Briefly about me, again, my name is Christian Banach. I am the Principal and Chief Growth Officer of Christian Banach LLC. We are a business development and growth consulting firm that helps agencies and MarTech companies land 6- and 7-figure opportunities predictably. A little bit about me, I've been in the business for 25 years. I have been an agency owner. I have been a business development director at both independent and holding company agencies, and I've also led outbound sales teams. In terms of the firm, the consultancy, we help agencies like you see there on the top, drive growth and build relationships with big enterprise companies like you see there on the bottom. So let's jump into the content. What is the modern buyer's journey? Let's start there by defining it. So our definition of the buyer's journey is the process that a prospect goes through to purchase products or services. Now, the challenge here is that the way that modern B2B clients discover, evaluate, and buy has fundamentally changed. And the reason for that is really threefold. One is that technology given all the power to the buyers. Think back 20 years ago, if you wanted to get information about an agency, where would you go if you were a buyer? The web was not what it is today. There was not nearly as much content available. So there wasn't a whole lot of options. You had to speak to a sales rep or a new business rep. Secondarily, the sales process has now become much more complex. There's research that is out there that there are anywhere from 7 to 10 buyers that are decision makers that are influencing every buy that's happening now. As we'll talk about a little bit later, people are going in and out of the buyer journey. So it's just much more challenging now than it's ever been. And the last thing is that clients now have higher expectations. They are used to that Amazon personalized experience, and they are expecting this level to come from B2B companies as well. So with that said, maybe some of this is resonating with you, but maybe you're seeing in your sales and marketing efforts that prospects are ghosting you. Maybe you're seeing longer sales cycles, or maybe you're seeing a really low win rate. And all of this is probably contributable in some regards to the buyer journey, and how you can better understand it will help you eliminate or reduce these challenges. So when we think about the buyer journey, we think about it in 3 stages. We think about number 1, the awareness stage, 2, consideration, and 3, decision. And let's unpack each one of these. So in the awareness stage, this is really about the buyer experiencing a problem, and their goal really is to find a solution that resolves that problem. Or they may not even be aware that they have a problem yet, and you're there really to help them identify a challenge that they didn't really even know that they had at that point. So to use an example we can all, somewhat relate to is, maybe you're experiencing some back pain. So you have an issue, you're not really sure what the solution is to it, but you just know you have some sort of pain. In the consideration stage, this is where the buyer is going to start conducting research to understand how to resolve that challenge. Again, using that back pain example, maybe at this point now you have a herniated disc, you've done some research on that, and now you're trying to figure out ways to treat it. And then finally, in decision-making stage, the buyer is going to create a short list of vendors and select the one that they perceive best fits their needs and situation. Again, using our example, at this stage, you might be asking, okay, well, what chiropractor is best for herniated disc? You've done your research, you want a chiropractor, you're starting to look, how much do they cost? Where are they located? So you've got your narrow list, and you're trying to boil it down to who you ultimately want to select. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the buyer is complex, and it is also nonlinear. And what I mean by that is that all three of those stages, it doesn't mean that the buyer is going to go through them A, B, and C, right? They may go to A, to B, back to A, then to C. They're going to go back and forth. And there is so many different variables. It could be things get held up in legal. It could be priorities happen to change. There is so much movement that's happening. And as much as a seller or an agency, we want it to move nice and linear, it unfortunately just doesn't. So we need to be aware of this and acknowledge this. And ultimately what I'm getting at here is we need to be creating content that meets buyers where they're at in the journey. And we need to content for each one of those three different stages. So when we're talking about content and channels, keep in mind the awareness stage. So what type of content do you want to be producing for awareness? These could be blog posts, social media, videos, infographics, images, podcasts. But the idea here is that you are zeroing in on the problem that these prospects are potentially experiencing, that we understand you're having a web traffic problem, or you are having challenges connecting with Gen Z. So that is where you're going with this, right? In the consideration stage, it's a little bit different now. Now they have identified you as whatever you do as a solution. Now keep in mind, I know we probably have a lot of different types of agencies on here. Your solution, maybe you're an influencer agency, maybe you're a social media, maybe you're, you create TV. So each one of those are a solution. The buyer could have any one of those solutions, potentially could be what they end up going with to solve their problem. So in this stage, you really want to go deeper. You're going to do private workshops, webinars, ebooks, downloadable guides, videos, blog posts, the type of content, but you're really going to be talking less about their problem and more about your solution at this stage, and really making the case for why this solution over all the others is the one that they should choose. And then finally, you get into the decision-making stage. You might be thinking about demos, case studies, frequently asked questions, product landing pages, testimonials, ROI calculators. So here, to use a football analogy, they're on the 1-yard line, and your job is to try to get them into the end zone. And this is the type of content that, again, they're evaluating other vendors for that same solution. So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you make them confident in you to take that next step with you? So it's really important to think about creating content for each one of these different stages. And if you do this, you're going to improve engagement, you're going to reduce your sales cycles, and you're ultimately going to increase conversion. So we're talking real high level here on how to create a successful buyer journey. And we think about it in 3 steps. 1 is identifying and mapping content. 2 is auditing and evaluating your content. And 3 is planning and prioritizing your content. So we're talking about identifying mapping content. You're going to want to, this is really important, identify what are the top questions, problems, and objections that your prospect is experiencing at each one of those 3 different stages. And from there, what you're going to do, you're going to do customer interviews and surveys. You're going to look at target communities. You're going to look at events and conferences. What are people speaking about in your various verticals that you're targeting? Who are the thought leaders and influencers that are in your space? What are they talking about? What books have they written? Look internally. Who are your subject matter experts? What do they think are the questions, problems, and objections? The second part is you're going to do a content audit now. You're going to list all your existent, and you're going to ask, does it answer these questions, problems, or obstacles? Then you're going to evaluate, is your content overly focused on selling and describing your products, or does it convey valuable information? And then lastly, do you have a provocative content that challenges your customers' belief, or is it me too? To stand out amongst all those other vendors, you're going to really have to have something provocative and different to say. And then the third step is you're going to plan and prioritize. So what can you use as is? Where are there gaps? What content can be updated or repurposed? And then you're going to want to ultimately, most likely, develop original insights-driven pillar content with your subject matter experts. I say pillar content because we advise doing something more long form, and then you can repurpose it in other channels. And then lastly, you're going to assign priorities to each of these content pieces. Where are there bottlenecks that you have right now? Are you really struggling to get leads, or are you struggling to convert them? You might want to then prioritize the type of content based on where you seem to have gaps. So I know I blew through this real fast, but as a summary, the buyer journey is the process a prospect to purchase products or services. You are going to create and share content relevant to each one of those 3 stages. And then by meeting prospects where they're at, it's going to improve your engagement, reduce sales cycles, and increase conversions, all leading to predictable growth.
And that's
Fantastic.
it. Thank you.
That was really good, Christian. Thank you so much.